That was the better one. The song
Okay.
Oh my God.
It's like magic. Literally, it's like magic.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been shown that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else, you belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Hello.
This is
I don't see
crazy. Good morning.
Raise your hand if you've ever been busy. Raise your hand if you've ever got tired and feel like you just need a couple days off. Most people would have both hands up right now. That's our world, fast-paced and income-driven. That's why we get caught up in our own lives so often, and that's why it's understandable when most people don't focus on worries that aren't their own. So what makes someone become a humanitarian? Someone whose whole life focuses on the welfare of other humans.
When you go back and you see kids that were living on the streets, kids had no structure, they had no routine, people who had nothing, they didn't have meals. When you see that they're all of a sudden they're waking up, they have structure, they have something to do, they have a meal in their belly, their life changes completely. They, like I said, their self-esteem changes, their self-worth, their ability to know who they are in the world and what they have the potential of becoming. You know, to give that hope, to give that dream, and then to watch people actually use that to do good for themselves and others it's amazing. It becomes an addiction.
And with Serena's help, we'll find the meaning of life to a humanitarian.
Okay.
Good morning. Let's do this again.
I was like, I can do, and then I hear echoes. I was like, yeah. Now I love it.
How are you doing, Miss Barbara Beckley? Can you hear me? Now there's a delay. We love technology. When we love technology.
I said, I feel like right now.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's try this. Round 3.
Let's try this again. Testing.
Testing. The beauty of live video. You get what you have. And that's and I think that's one of the reasons why I like having the live video, because life is live. And life happens.
Life is life.
And so that's why so often people, and this wasn't my soapbox for today, but this is obviously this is for someone. Quit worrying about being perfect. Just do you. The best version of you, absolutely. You'll work on the things that you want to improve, but just don't compare yourself to somebody else. And that is just what is so important, is that I find that so often we compare what we're doing with someone else. And that's not the way to live our lives. We are to be the best version of us and compare ourselves to us. Am I better today than I was yesterday? And am I better this year than I was last year? Those kinds of things. And that's where personal development comes in. And so one of the things that I was going to talk about today, and so let's just do it. We can ignore the wisdom of the past and live for today. Absolutely. And so often we don't put any thought into where we came from, who we are, or why we even exist. Or we can choose to live our life to just look at the past, understand that it happened, but just look at it, not live in it. We can dig into some of the complex things that happened, absolutely, but then let them go. Because we are part of a bigger story going forward. That is what the big thing is. Who are you going to be a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And you do not do that by comparing yourself to somebody else today. Who are you going to be? So that's my soapbox for the day. And so, Barbara, are you coming? I wonder if Barb's coming back. Anyways, I can just keep going. I love to talk about things of personal development. So tell you about my tech issue this morning. I came on to StreamYard, thought, ooh, this is a new little perk that you can have use your iPhone camera. And my iPhone has a really nice camera on it. I said, okay, I'll try that. Oh, well, then I didn't have anywhere to stand it up. Couldn't get back to it. And I'm in a little bit of a panic mode going, oh, brother, I have to do the podcast. What if I don't get my camera back? Which is so, I'm not the most techie person in the world. So this is why it comes down to, don't compare yourself to somebody else. And don't start doing a project 5 minutes before you're supposed to be somewhere that you're not sure of how to do. Do it when you have time. So that's my lesson for the day. Don't compare yourself to other people, and don't start a project 5 minutes before you're supposed to be doing something and try to change your camera.
I have done many times, and I told myself, I said, that is not a good thing. It's not a good thing at all.
Not a good thing. But anyways, so what's new with you, Miss Barbara?
Nothing much. I think it is. Okay, everybody. Technology is our friend. So I'm getting feedback, and I think it's Barbara. I'm getting feedback because when I put you on mute, I don't hear the feedback. But when we're on together, there's
feedback. All right, let me take out my earbuds. Let's try. Does that help? Does that help?
Testing.
Does that help now?
Does it help a little bit?
Does it help a little bit? We love technology. And you know, and one of the things that they always say to me is, you have like earbuds.
It's funny that, and I said, sometimes it doesn't work.
And then, but the times that I have used my earbuds, and these are not the cheapest earbuds in the world, that's what people say. Oh, Barb, there's feedback. All right, well then, I won't use them. Hi, Barb. Good morning. How are you doing this morning? Welcome to the Time to Shine Happiness Show. Because you know what? And the thing is, though, we're on a mission to make happiness the norm rather than the exception. Well, you know what? Like we started out the show with, this is life. This is live with all of its little quirks, all of its little, got a slight cough, this is live. But because you know what? Life is live. And we have to do life with the people around us. And we have to do life in the circumstances around us. And it's how we handle those.
Yes. And what I said earlier, getting things from the past and learning from it. It or something happens. Remember. Very important tip.
Yeah, you can.
Because I did this other day. It was something that I heard told a long time ago about something business wise, and she drilled it in my head like she just said it one time. Not forget. Drill it over and over again. And then what I do total opposite. And as soon as something didn't happen right, she popped in my head like. I told you this. I know people like this. No, my mother was 2 years ago. But her voice is always in my head. And I get what saying. I've been telling you since she was like, no. Why would you?
My mother used to say, from the time you were knee high to a grasshopper. Okay, Mom.
That's the old deal.
And the thing is that so often it's like we are designing our future from past events. Don't do that. Yeah. Don't do that. Yes, take into consideration the things that, but so often people think that because if they're living in the past, well, they can't move forward. If you can look at the past, get the lessons from the past. What did you learn from what you did? Okay, it might not have been the most stellar thing you did in your life, but what did you learn from it? Yeah. And it's that learning that you can take into your future you to become the best version of you. That's my tagline. Definitely. Become the best version of you. Definitely. You have to look at your past. Absolutely. There are some things in my past that, brother, Barbara, seriously, you did that? And the shame of it, let's talk shame for a second. The shame of it will come back to try to haunt you. Just say, you know what? Yeah, I did do that. It wasn't my most stellar moment, but I'm done with that. And I'm not going to, and that's not me. And that's not the future me. Because we've all done things that, ooh, brother, I can't believe I did that. Yeah. And one thing I want to add is a little buffer for everybody. Right. Is that if you did do something or you didn't learn from it, don't beat yourself up. Right. Just tell yourself, oh my God, what's up, people? And then say, okay. This is another moment again. Go around the mountain again. We gotta figure it out and let it move forward. Right. And that comes back to, like, who was it that said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting to get a different result. So if you're going around a mountain, okay, maybe you need to take another route. But sometimes we need help to do that, which is what I'm like. Our guest coming on, Dee, she's about the same thing. It's like, change your path sometime. But you'll have that moment of awakening. And when you have that moment of awakening, that I have been around this mountain too many times, it's that moment of recognition.
Yes.
And that's the moment where you can make a positive change of direction. Because some people are just in that mental loop that they're going around the mountain, and they don't even realize they're going around the mountain until something happens. With me, it was when my husband died. I was quite happy going around my mountain. Thank you very much. I had a great marriage. I had a lovely home. Thought I was going to stay that way until I was 95 and dance at my great grandchildren's weddings. That was how I expected to live my life. Well, at 61, I was a widow. Change of plans, change directions. So right at that moment, you have a choice. Are you going to go around the mountain alone and be less than live alive? Or are you going to get a new direction to go to a different place? Well, obviously I chose to go to a different place. Hence, you and I are together and having this podcast that we've been on for 3 years. 3 years. I'm so excited. Almost four. We're in our 4th year.
Yeah.
And yet, so now I can look back on the things that David and I did. And we were happy. We had a great marriage. We had our issues, absolutely. There were times when I wanted to string him up by his toenails, and I would tell him that. And he felt the same way about me, because there were certain things that, you have to do life together.
Yeah.
But So look at your past. Take into consideration the mountain you've been around, but when you have that moment of awakening, and if you need help, reach out for help. Reach out for help, because sometimes that mountain can just look so huge and you have no idea how to even start. And that's exactly what I did. I got a coach. I signed up for my very first coaching program, and it was a group coaching. And that was great. And then I joined WPN, which Women's Prosperity Network. That's where I met you. Hasn't this been a wonderful part of my journey? So find the things, find something to move you from going around the mountain to getting a new direction. So off of my soapbox for today. But it's so true. We need to do it. And so many people are stuck.
We need to do it. Well, I was when you say mountain, I was to go around the same mountain.
Yeah, we go around the same mountain. Over again. It's like we're running on a track, on a racetrack. Well, you gotta, I think it starts with those self-reflection.
Yes, it does. You said we're running a racetrack.
Right, or the hamster wheel. The hamster wheel. Yeah, exactly. Been there, done that. We've all done it. And then all of a sudden, until something happens to move us forward. And lots of times, unfortunately, it's some kind of a tragedy.
Yeah. Yes, you learn the lesson.
Until you learn the lesson that in our case, like for me, when God's trying to teach me something, he'll send me around the same mountain until I learn it. And then all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, yeah, I don't want to do that anymore. That's not me anymore. Or it hurt.
You said something hard now.
Yeah. Thank you for the learning. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, Miss Barbara, I want to introduce this coming on.
You are fading in and out, though, Miss Barbara.
I know. It's what it is. Bad feeding. So what I want you to do is introduce me, and I'm going to take myself and then I'm going to. Okay.
Well, you're just perfect the way you are, but your microphone is a little off right at this moment.
I know. Right now. So what you do? And then I'll with you. Okay.
Absolutely. So we are so excited, and you're watching the Time to Shine Happiness show. We're on a mission to make happiness the norm rather than the exception. And so if that's what you want to do, I want you to I'm so glad that you're here and you're listening. And if you're listening to the replay, send us some love, give us a comment, and just let us know that where you are and where you're listening from. So that would be wonderful. But I met Dee. Oh yeah, gee, it's been a little while. We have had several great conversations and talking about her journey of where she came from, what transpired to make her go, okay, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. This mountain, I'm not going around this mountain again. And now where she is now. So it is I'm just so excited to have her on the show and just have a great conversation. And so welcome. So now I can't see Dee yet.
No, we're gonna have her on, and then
we have to give our sponsors some love. I forgot that. I asked for love for ourselves and forgot our sponsors. Sorry about that. Whoops.
When you do nothing happens. Best time to take action is now. This is the time to work on you and your business. So I've created a group, an online academy for professionals and entrepreneurs. Power Partners will help you to start helping yourself.
Helped me change my life and my business.
Not a Toastmasters, it's not a BNI, it's not any of these, but it is. So it's all this stuff in one place.
Get the results that you deserve right now. So what are you waiting for? Let's make it happen. See you in Power Partners.
Well, hi, Dee. How are you? It's been so long. Was it yesterday that we chatted? Yesterday.
That's okay. I want to talk with you.
Yeah. So how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I got up this morning and I took a beautiful walk and with my husband and got my heart pumping, and now I'm just ready to rock and roll.
Cool beans. Well, welcome. Number one, welcome to the show. So tell us about you and what a little bit of your journey, what you're excited about. I love to hear you. And Barb always loves to hear the backstory.
Oh, the backstory.
Where did you come from? And and with me, I always love to know the moment of awakening.
Well, I have both.
Exactly. So tell us about you.
Yeah. So thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. So I am originally from Utica, New York. And I moved down to Roanoke, Virginia about 20 years ago. So I've almost lived in Virginia as long as I lived in New York. So my parents moved to this country in the 1950s, and when they brought the work ethic with them, and they started to they had that mindset of I do whatever I need to do to put food on the table, right? And that is sort of the mindset that I took with me into corporate life, my career. And to be honest with you, it served me up until last year. So I was so worried about doing what I needed to do to make sure that my family was taken care of, and I didn't care about taking care of myself, right? So self-care went out the window. What I was worried about is how much money can I make to make it so we don't have to struggle. And it wasn't about joy. It was about how much money can I make. And the thing about that is when you go on that limited belief system of I do when I need to do and I don't have to take care of myself, your mental health starts to decline because of it. I was going to school full time for my bachelor's and my master's degree. I was a mom with a new baby, and I also had an older daughter. And then I was also a wife, and I was a friend and a daughter, and so on and so forth. So I had all these sort of labels on me and trying to be the best I can at everything. What happens when you try to be the best you can at everything, you end up being the best that you can at nothing. And that's really what I found. So fast forward to last year, the pandemic really threw me for a loop like everyone else. I was very, very burnt out. I was having panic attacks. I was breaking out in hives. And this is something that happened over my career. And I just thought it was normal, right? Oh, it's okay. It's just stress. It's just my body handling stress, ignoring the fact that what my body was really telling me is enough is enough. And it's time for you to prioritize yourself. So last year I, did all my education. I had my coaching certificate and I was ready to rock and roll with my purpose. I found my passion. I found my purpose. The problem was I was still in the same position. I was still in the same organization. And I had thought to myself and continuously told myself, I need to find another job before I can leave this job. Even though I am not happy in this position, I'm not happy with what I'm doing with work, I still need to find another job before I can do anything. And what happens when you tell yourself that is you aren't creative anymore, right? You're not trying to find creative ways to get yourself out of the position that you're in. So I hit my point and I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore because it physically hurt me. It physically hurt to be living in a life that was not made for myself. So I decided to stop working. I went ahead and quit and I started my own business. And I used the end of last year from August. This is actually our birthday, Fire Within Coaching's birthday of 1 year. So I spent from August to December just really healing. And really just figuring out what it is that I want, and still providing content for people which fuel passion. So fast forward to January of this year, I hit the ground running and I was like, this is my purpose. This is my passion. This is what I was meant to do. This is what I was put on earth to do. So I work with organizations to provide psychological safety. And I work with organizations to really just to educate them. And hey, maybe it doesn't seem like you have a toxic environment, but you may. And that toxicity might not be purposeful. It might be because you have limited belief systems. And I help people with those mindsets. And I help people really discover who they are and what their purpose is. So that's a long story.
Right. Yeah. No. And that goes totally along with how Barb and I think.
Yeah.
Because, she's all about purpose, passion, and drive. I'm all about being the best version of you. Well, if you're in a toxic environment, whether it's home or work or within ourselves, you can be toxic within yourself, which can be huge. And I have to admit, so much of that's been my growth is that I would beat myself up all the time.
Yeah.
It was a never ending battle. And it was right between my ears.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
it's the one thing that you cannot get away from until you choose to do it. So now when I hear that negative voice, it's like, oh, thank you for sharing that with me. But yeah, I'm not going to listen to you.
Yep. That's what I do.
But that takes practice also. So how do you work with someone to do that? To get them into the practice mode?
Yeah. Well, I use a lot of positive intelligence. I'm not sure if you're familiar. So I do a lot with PQ. So for me, it's first of all recognizing that you are your own worst enemy, and recognizing that you have to fix what's inside you before you can expect other people to recognize what's magical about you. You have to know that something's magical about you. So in order to do that, you really need to work with self-care. You need to take care of yourself and listen to your body, listen to your mind, what it is that you need, and recognize that we all have self-sabotage. We all have them, and it's just a matter of how loud is your self-sabotage self. My judge used to be extremely loud, judging me about, oh, you should have done this better. You're not enough. You're doing this wrong, or this person's going to think that. Well, that stuff, when you tell yourself that every single day, of course you're going to believe it, and other people are going to believe it too. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Right. And one of the things I love PQ. I use it all the time. And
I love it.
Just and if we're not judging ourselves, we're judging other people.
100%.
Or we're judging the circumstances.
Yeah.
And that is huge. It's like, and I would catch myself, oh, well, look at that. And then it was like, but then you realize it, but for the grace of God, on any given day, we can do anything that we have just criticized somebody else for. And that's that negative, but that turns back on ourselves that, ooh, yike, how could I have judged them like that?
Yeah.
And now I've done it myself. If you recognize it.
If you recognize
it.
That's huge. That's the biggest part. You have to recognize that there's an issue in the first place. I mean, I work with clients who, a lot of them are, well, I've done all this work, right? I've went to school, I've taken, classes, I've done all this work. Why are things still the same? Why do I still feel awful? And it's, well, have you really done the work? Because the work sucks. I'm not going to lie. It's hard. It's hard to look at yourself and say, you know what? I really dropped the ball here. I really need to do better. It's hard to say that because in society's set up for you not to say that. Society is set up for not holding yourself accountable and really not holding other people really accountable. But you can't hold other people accountable until you can hold yourself accountable.
Right. One of the things for me is that when the moment that I realized that I was responsible for everything that had ever happened to me, I had a part in it.
Yeah.
Bad things happen. Absolutely. Bad things happen. But we still had choice within all of it. And when I realized that, it was like, oh, my stars. Yeah. I could literally look back and go, yeah, that was partly my fault. Yeah. Oh yeah. I did that, and those kinds of things. And then forgive yourself and move on. And if it's something, forgive
and then move on. That's the biggest part. Forgive yourself, because a lot of times we don't. And that's why we talk bad to ourselves, because we don't forgive ourselves.
And we have to forgive others. And like I started out the show, look at the past, learn from the past, but don't live in the past. And that's what so many people are doing. They're living in their past mistakes, living in their past traumas. Like I had a just a wonderful conversation with a gal that she had been in therapy for years. And I'm not knocking therapy. We need therapy. Sometimes people do, because there could be a brain imbalance or whatever. She said, but then I realized that all I was doing was rehashing my past and I wasn't moving forward. And she said, and that's when I realized that the difference between therapy and having a coach was the coach was saying, oh, and this is what I do. Where do you, okay, we've looked at the past. Okay, this is where you are, but where do you want to go? Where do you want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And that's the key to it, is moving forward.
I agree. And finding that there's a gift in everything. There is a gift in everything. And it might definitely not feel that way as when you're in it, but there is a gift in everything. You can find it. Even, COVID-19 pandemic, perfect example. It was horrible. People died. People felt isolated. All this was going on, but do we have gifts from COVID? Are there any gifts that we can find? Because if we continue to dwell on what was bad, we're not going to move forward. We have to find the gift and forgive ourselves for who we had to become in those circumstances. Because I know myself, there's a lot of things I can say, you know what? I was not my best self. I was not my best self. And you know what? It's okay, because I didn't know better at the time, but I know better now. So given the same situation, I'm going to handle myself differently, but I forgive myself for not knowing. I forgive myself for being the person that I had to become during those circumstances. I forgive myself. And that's the only way you're going to move forward. Hi, Barbara.
Hello. I'm joining in real quick. So, first of all, Dee, amazing. Everything you and Barbara have been talking about, the conversation's been wonderful. I've been like, yes, in the background. But one thing I want to add, what you said about the pandemic, just as an example, like you said, and it was horrible. I mean, I lost and I know Barbara, and I told this when I'm talking, I lost 13 individuals, family and friends within 3 months. And some people were like, I was scared to pick up the phone. I was scared to look at a text because I didn't know the next text would be like, oh, it was just like that, like running water almost. And it goes back to what Barbara said a long time ago. It takes the choice. You have to make the choice, say either I'm going to sit in this and let it really just, get inside of me and affect me to the point where I don't even move anymore, or make the choice and say, well, you know what? I'm going to make sure that they're celebrated. And that's what I did in my mind. So I chose to celebrate the people that I lost by moving forward in my own life, because I know they probably would have wanted me to do that as well. So that was one of the gifts that came out of that, from a situation that was really horrible. And then with that too, I've learned I had to change my whole business around, because we all probably had to like pivot or turn or whatever the word was. The years.
Pivot and shake.
Pivot and shake and turn, whatever you got to do. And then just say, okay, here we go, and let's try this. And see, that's what I love about that too, because I've learned, because I never was like a creative person. And I tell everybody, I said I can do other things, organization, all that stuff. But when it comes to creativity, I was kind of like, okay, and I know some people that are really good at creativity. And believe me, I was tested in COVID to the point now I can't believe that some things I create is like, what? I know how to do video commercials. I know how to do editing for videos. Never took a class on it, but I do it. And it's just, another gift, at a situation where you turn it around. So you're right, Dee. I just wanted to make, some examples that you were saying that, but it's a choice. You have to, it's always comes down to that choice.
It is a choice. My father actually passed away in April, and one thing that he had always said before, because I remember I was younger and I had someone that passed away, and I was really, really broken hearted about it. And he said, you know what? the living's got to go on living. And just something simple like that. So when he had passed, I was very fortunate to be able to have that conversation with him before he passed. And that was one thing that I said to him. And I was like, well, Dad, the living's got to go on living. And he chuckled and he said, well, what are you going to do with your life? And I told him, I said, this is my passion, my purpose. I'm going to, try to help people, be their best selves. And he said, well, that's living. And I just kept that with me. I'm like, you know what, Dad, it is living. So I keep that with me and remember that, he's not here. And we a lot of people, but that doesn't mean that we need to be stuck.
Yeah.
Right? Grief is hard. Grief is hard and it shows up differently. But for me, I take that and I say, now I'm going to make you proud.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to make you proud. I'm going to make it so I can see that, the shine through the heavens, and I can see you smiling at me because I am living my life to the fullest.
And you are living it well, Queen. You are living it well. Barbara, I know she wanted to say something.
And just for me, it's like just to make a difference in the world. And by living our lives to be the best version of us, we impact the people that are around us.
We do.
And that's an awesome thing. That's an awesome thing.
It is. That's one thing that I love about, I'm very fortunate where I've met beautiful people such as yourself, and I've met people from around the world that they feel the same way we do, that it's time to live your life. Right. And that's the one thing that I love about this job is meeting other people that have that passion and they have that drive, and together, all of us coming together, we're changing the world. Whether it's a little bit, a lot, we're changing the world because we're changing the narrative. We're changing that narrative.
Yes. And, I just want to say, Dee, when you said we're changing the world a little bit, a lot, I think if you just change the world just for one individual, everything, if you change, is a lot because it's a lot in their world. I mean, if you come in, Dee, like you do, because you're the wonderful queen, I call the women queen. So just let you know. And you come in and change somebody and transfer somebody's life by saying what you do, or just say one or two words, like you said, that's huge. So I tell people, don't downgrade that at all. I'd be stopping people and people be like, what do you say? You stopping me from? I said, I'm not trying to stop you from talking. I love your voice. I want you to talk, but I want to just make sure that you don't minimize what you do. That's all I do.
Well, I love that because that's, that's what we do as humans is we minimize it. And it's always, well, oh, I don't know, that might be out of my league, or, that person does it so much better than I do. Well, that doesn't mean you can't do it good. You don't have to be, like the Taylor Swift of music. You could still make music and not be on a stage with 1 million people. You can still affect people's lives. You can still bring happiness to people. You don't have to be the best. Just be really good at being you. Be really good at being you and how you show up in the world. That's all you need to do, and you can change the world.
Yes. Awesome.
And it can be one person at a time.
One person. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like I remember one time, David, my husband was a musician, and we went to like a senior home.
Yeah.
And this little lady came up to him afterward, and she had tears in her eyes. She said, "Oh, thank you so much. You sang the song that my husband used to sing to me." And it just melted his heart. And I can still see her. She just and she just came up to him and with her, and she was like, he was 6'3" and she was maybe 5'2". So she was like this. And she was just so appreciative of that. Oh, you sang the song, one of the songs that my husband sang to me. And it just, it's those things. And for him, he was just doing his thing.
Yeah,
he was a musician.
changed his life, right? Because they realized that he profoundly affected someone in a positive way.
Yeah,
I
and
did that with cookies recently. I made, I've been baking a lot more, which I normally don't do, and I made some Italian cookies. And we live in a neighborhood where there's a lot of older individuals, so I like to make cookies and I like to share it because I'm Italian and that's what we do. We share our food. So I brought cookies to some of the older neighbors, and one of them, was like, my mom used to make these when I was younger. I can't, this is amazing. Like, this is exactly what I needed. I tell you, I rode that high for days. I was like, I made him smile, and it was amazing because it reminded him of his mom, and it made me feel amazing. Why would people not want to feel that way, right?
yeah. I always say if I can just make somebody happy, or the light bulb comes on, you know how we all know about those light bulbs when they just like, I didn't know that, or thank you, or oh my God, and then this makes my heart flutter because I'm like, yes, they learned something new, and I was just a little bit a part of it. And I said, no, don't minimize it, Barbara. I was a huge part of it. And some people think, okay, now you're being too, both. No, because you don't know where that person was at, where now they learned something new from what you gave them, what your genius is, what your guru, as I said, your flow and what you do to them. And now they can move on and do what they need to do and be that shining light, like we say. Yeah.
And someday, and it's so funny because I saw a friend of mine that I haven't seen in a couple of years, but a couple of years ago, he said, Barb, I want to write a book. And I said, well, he said, but I don't have a publisher. So I introduced him to a friend of mine who was a publisher. And so they just hit it off, and they had a great time. So when I saw him on Sunday at a church picnic, I said, Steve, how are you doing? And he said, oh, I'm on my 4th book. Yay. And from one little introduction, it had nothing to do with me. I just introduced Steve to Ellen.
Yeah.
And now he's on his 4th book. And it's just, so sometimes it's not about you. It's about who you know and who you know that can help someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. That's one thing I love about what I do now is I network. I introduce people, and I can't tell you how many, at least 2-3 times a week I'm saying, oh, let me introduce you to this person. Let me introduce you to this person. And for me, that's, I'm a social person. That lights me up to be able to be like, oh, hey, here, you guys collaborate. You go make magic. I don't need to be a part of it, but I can if you want me to. But you too, with your says, run with it. Make a project, do a collaboration. And, it really, that lights me up. That lights me up that I'm able to connect people that are going to make magic.
Yes. Well, Dee, I can talk for you for a while. I love this conversation, Barbara. You did it again. You brought another wonderful, I call them sisters now. So you're part of family, Dee. Just to let you know. Part of family.
Never have too much family.
That's good. And we all, we just love on each other. That's what I always say. But is there any last thoughts that you want to give the audience before we wrap up, and make sure that you get your contact information too?
Yeah. Do you want me to say my contact information, or will you be posting it?
Yeah, I'll be posting it while you're giving your last thoughts.
Okay, perfect. So, last thoughts would be, don't underestimate yourself. Don't underestimate yourself. Don't allow other people to define you and your strengths and define how far you can go. And don't limit yourself. Don't say, hey, I really love medicine, but there's no way I could be a doctor. Well, you know what? There are so many ways that you can help with medicine and bringing messages, and so you don't have to be a doctor. So don't limit yourself to what society says that you need to be. shoot for the stars, and be your authentic self. And if you find people are not accepting of your authentic self, maybe it's time to find new people. You know, I that's what I had to do. I had to find new people because it just never felt like home. And now it feels like home because I'm finding people that are lighting me up and allowing me to light them up. So never give up. And if you ever need some motivation, you just give me a call and I will make sure that you know that you're worth it.
Call D.
Call D.
I love it. Well, thank you, D, so much. We're gonna have to bring you back on, lady. Bring you. We got know me and Barbara have other shows. We would love to have you on those as well. I know, Barbara, you probably had her on already, right?
So, yeah, there's two. And Barbara's going to be on my show as well. And Barbara. So I would love for you to be on my show as well. So I'll send you the links. If my podcast is What Lights Your Fire, and I have people on there that are living their passion. And my hope is that we can inspire people to do the same, because just nearly not enough people follow their passion and follow what lights them up. So that's what that show's about. So I'll send you the information for that as well.
Oh, I'd be honored because you're talking my language, lady. You're talking my language. So
there you go.
With that, I want Barbara, because Barbara, you know you got to do your tagline, lady.
Hey, you know, that's me. You know what? Let's make happiness the norm rather than the exception. Live the life that you are meant to live. And all you have to do is just reach out to reach in first. And then if you need help, reach out, because, and always look up, because you will find your purpose, your passion, your drive. Absolutely. It is out there for you.
Love it.
Love it. Yeah.
Always.
We're
gonna look up everybody to look up next week when we come on for another Time to Shine Happiness show with another guest. And again, Dee, love you, appreciate you, wish you many, many, many success. And this is not the last time we're going to be talking. We're going to do this because we're family. So with that said, see you next Tuesday.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.